How y'all doing? All right, y'all having a good day so far? All right, cool. So before we begin and I bring out Dr. Tao, I just kind of wanted to take a couple moments to talk a little bit about my nonprofit. So about 2016, I started a nonprofit called Operation Exposure, and it was a youth development nonprofit. And I started it with the idea of just taking the group of inner city boys out of Atlanta out to a Boy Scout camp that I spent many summers at to help them become more confident in themselves. 10 years later, we've raised over $60,000, and we've also had over 10 events. So we're still pushing and moving forward. What we've decided to do here at JuaMoto is with everyone that donates at least $20, you guys will, if y'all come here to eat, you'll get at least 15% off on your meal. So a small little incentive to help support what we're doing here in the community, right? It takes a village, right? We are nothing without everyone here that, kind of supports us, right? So I think it's extremely important that we invest in our kids, right? Because they are our future. And if we don't invest in them, then who's going to take over the future, right? Right. All right, cool. So before Dr. Tao comes out, I have the distinguished honor of introducing him to you guys. So I've known Dr. Tao for about almost 4 years now. Whenever I first met Dr. Tao, I was in a place where I wasn't truly rooted in anything, right? I had a lot of self-doubt. I wasn't confident in myself. I didn't know where I come from, right? And I didn't know where my family came from. And for me, it was huge to know who I am, right? I think with identity, right, it's huge to know where you come from, because if you don't know where you're coming from, then what? Where you going? Exactly, right? So Dr. Tao is a naturopathic physician. He's helped millions of people all over the world, but he's a true pioneer within the community, right? He's someone with a huge heart because he's dedicated himself to coming out here every single day except for Wednesdays and Thursdays to feed the community, right? Dr. Tao graduated from Morehouse. He was a double major, applied physics and engineering double major, as well as a Spanish minor, right? He went into nuclear science. He worked at a nuclear plant, right? So try going from a nuclear plant to making raps, right? Two completely different spaces, right? But he has that love for his community, right? So I think it's huge that we experience that, right? And we see that when he's standing up here, it's not just him standing up here. It's all of our ancestors that are also standing up here, right? It's just like we don't know who we are, right? So we entrust our ancestors to help guide the way, right? If you're not rooted in anything, you'll fall for everything, right? So I appreciate everybody making time to come out here to be able to soak up this knowledge. And I appreciate you guys making time to just, be able to come here to listen. All right. Cool. Appreciate y'all. All right.
Cool. All right, how's everyone doing today? Better than last week? Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in today, for sure. We're going to talk about some things to kind of maybe provoke some thought. But I am a solution-oriented person, so I don't try to do too much theoretical, philosophical speaking. I believe in being a solutionist, not a philosopher. So we're just going to kind of dig into some information, and maybe we'll do a Q&A at the end. So when it comes to looking at life, looking at nature, looking at anything, we have to use a certain tool to look, okay? You may say that's your eyes, your ears, your nose, taste, touch. Those are all we call sensors, okay? So in order to see something, it has to go through a whole circuitry of your brain to make sense of what you're seeing, okay? The same thing with smell. If someone eats meat and someone doesn't eat meat, those two people both have noses, but one person doesn't like the smell of meat and the other person likes the smell of it. So what are the people smelling with? What makes the difference? They're smelling with their brain, right? Not with their nose. So you have 5 sensors that relay back to one sense, which we call common sense. All right. So when you're in your mother's womb, if the mother gets upset, then what we call the amniotic fluid, it's the fluid the baby's sitting inside, the fluid of Aman, right? The fluid becomes thicker and more salty. So the baby can taste anger, the baby can feel anger, the baby sees the lights firing out, we call electrolytes, so it can see anger, it can smell anger. So anger to a baby is holistic. So if you go travel, you go to New York, or you go to California, or you go to a different country, they use those same bonding rituals to attach you to something. Right? So they have a state flag, right? That's visual. They have maybe a food that they're known for, pizza or a burger. So they attach you by taste. They have an anthem or some type of song that's associated with that city or state. So they have a sound. So they're using these same bonding rituals to attach you to something. Okay. It's the same when we bond in relationships. It's how we bond to anything. Now, if I stress the mother out in her first trimester, then I can destroy your ability to bond with anything. Not just a city, but with a person. All right. So first trimester stress of the mother stops a person from becoming bonded to somebody. You say, how come I'm in this relationship and I can't make this last, and this relationship lasts for 2 months, and this relationship lasts 4 months? Okay. It's coming from a stressor of your mother in her first trimester. All right. Second trimester is the inability of the brain to masculinize or feminize itself. Meaning that if second trimester stress means that the child has the inability to connect to its opposite pole. Right? Man can't get along with woman. Woman can't get along with a man. You see? I'm changing your whole ability to bond by stressing the mother during pregnancy. If I stress her in the third trimester, that can cause gender confusion. All right? I can change how the brain is oriented. All right? Just by getting to the mother, I can change the nation of a people. All right. So you say, how come I don't want to bond to anything black or my culture? Then you have to look at what happened during the time you were being carried. You see? So when it comes to people, we have different people who live on the planet. So we have different worldviews. Okay. So if our natural environment is coming from, say, we have food everywhere, clothing, shelter, then people who are born into that situation don't have to worry about food, clothing, and shelter. It's always prevalent. So all they got to do is work on is interpersonal relationships. Now, if you come from an ice age, glaciated part of the world, then I don't see no trees growing. So the food's not there. Everyone's, frantic. The ground's shaking and rumbling, and it's not much time to, get along with people. You're just trying to survive. So my main objective is not getting along with you. Matter of fact, you're a threat to my survival. Matter of fact, if I had 10 pieces of food and I go for a walk and I come back to 7 pieces of food, you just threaten my life. So I'm not trying to get along with you. My main worldview is really just trying to obtain the object. That's my highest worldview. We call that axiology. All right, axiology is a worldview, or what I should say, a value system. It's what you value. All right. Now, if I am saying I have to move out towards the east, and I have a certain amount of children and cattle and people with me, then I have to make sure that if I'm traveling to the far east of China and then Korea, and then the furthest east is Japan, then I have to make sure that we stick together. All right. Don't bring shame to the community. We have to all stick together as one unit. If you stick out, if you do something different, you jeopardize the whole group. So you can't you got to blend in. We call that the Asian axiology, right? Don't bring shame to the family. Don't dishonor us, right? All right. So what we see, these worldviews are carved out of ecological systems. If I'm coming from the Americas, then the land is the most important thing because it connects me to the one high spirit. Don't drop paper on the floor. You better pick that up. Don't dishonor the earth. Don't shame it. They call that a litter bug. So we got 4 worldviews. The one coming from Africa, which is, we get everything you need there, so we just keep good relationships. We're good. All we got to do is get along with each other. You got the Ice Age, or the Iceman, who is not worried about relationships because it's threatening his survival. And then you got the Asian who's trying to move to the Far East, so they got to stick together. And then you got the Native American who's making sure that everything's connected to the one high spirit. All right. So that the Native American says we have creatures that walk with 2 legs, creatures that walk with 4 legs, those who fly in the air, those who walk the earth, those who swim in the water, those who have feathers, those who have fins. So we have 7 principles here. All right. So those 7 connect to the one high spirit. Everybody ever seen like a dream catcher before? A dream catcher has the sun on top and how many hanging down? 7. Oh, so you're not just looking at a dream catcher, you're looking at what? A world view. Okay. If I'm leaving and going to the Far East, then I have to cross Lebanon. And Lebanon has tons of trees, cedar trees. So I can make a fire and I can cook all types of foods. And I can feed the people I'm with. Now, as you go further east, you have to cross what we call the Gobi Desert. All right, the Gobi Desert has no trees. So the Asian person's condition changed from being a lot of trees to no trees. So when you went from a lot of trees, you can cook a long fire meal. And then you go to the Gobi Desert, it's just bushes and shrubs. So how do we still feed a lot of people with the shrubs? If I light up a fire with shrubs, then that fire is only going to last about 5 or 10 minutes. So how do I feed 100 people in 10 minutes? What do I make? What do I make? I have to make a big old dish called a wok. Right? I make a wok, and I can put a lot of things in it real quickly, and I can cook it real quickly. Today they call that what type of cooking? Stir fry, hibachi. Quick, right? So hibachi is a world view. Hibachi is the ecological system that the Asians encountered. You see, I'm just giving you a framework of thinking. Now, when you go to Japan, well, Japan is highly populated, right? With a small island, not much space. So I can't have open doors like that. There's no space for that. Everyone's living on top of each other, basically. So I had to develop something that's sliding door, which is Asian, right? Now, remember, there's a lot of people. Make sure you don't waste any food. So in China, they can waste a little more food. They have more, more leniency, but the Japanese could not. So the Chinese chopstick is more blunted at the end of it, whereas the Japanese chopstick is more pointed. That means you better get the last grain of rice. So now you can Google and say Chinese chopstick versus Japanese chopstick. Now you know the difference now, you see? Because you have a framework of thinking. So a Japanese chopstick will be more pointed at the ends because of the system, the condition they met. You see? Remember, everything is coming from something. That's what I'm trying to get you to think about here. Nothing is just arbitrary. Nothing is just random happening here, okay? Okay, so if I'm coming from a land of, you call Africa today, and I have everything I need, if I get upset with my wife or something happens with your spouse, and then you kick her out the house, well, should be okay. Yeah, should be just fine. Why is that? Because she got all the stuff she needs in nature. She got the food she needs, she got the shelter she needs. And if she has a baby in her hand, and she sees a snake right there, who do you think is going to be dead, the snake or the baby? The snake. That mother's not going to let her baby die. Okay, so she has her own protection too. So automatically, the black woman is more independent. Now, us black men have an issue with that. Nah, because we have adopted the worldview of the Iceman, where his spouse is dependent on him for her own survival. Okay, so I have a ice environment, right? Remember, people are always going to be doing things based off the trauma that they've had put into their genetic structure. They call it epigenetics. Okay, so if I'm coming from a ice environment, then what in today's society mimics that ice that you see out here? They build with
cement,
glass.
Oh, yeah.
You won't see any glass windows in ancient Egypt. It's just open window. There's no, you jump right out of it. You wanted to. So the Iceman builds with what? Glass, because that's where he comes from. He comes from ice. Is this making sense to you? I want to lose anybody here. Okay. I'm making sure. I'm trying to help you make sense of what everything you see here. So if I have the object, say I have food, then I'm not worried about you having food. I'm just worried about me having food because I'm trying to survive. So let's change that food. Let's make the word food, let's make that word the truth. I have the truth. That means if I'm telling the truth, that means you must be lying. Okay. And if you're telling the truth, I must be lying. So we call that an either or dichotomous logic system. All right. Let me step back to Africa. So I have some food. You also got some food. We both got food. There's no either or in that system. So that means let's change the word food to truth. If I had the truth, you also got the truth. We both tell the truth. Okay. So what happens in arguments today? If I'm telling the truth, then that person must be what? Okay. What system is that coming from? Is that coming from Eurocentric or is that Africa? Okay. So you have a lot of people who project African thought or black thinking and using Eurocentric ideologies to project that. If I'm right, then you're wrong. The African says what you say and what I say. The truth is where? In between. Which keeps the what? Relationship. Because we're trying to do what? We're trying to get along. That's how we work. Remember that. Remember, the African is all about interpersonal relationship. That's all you worry about. He got everything you need. He ain't got to prove nothing to you. Matter of fact, the European gets upset with the way Africans answer questions. We don't answer a yes or no question. We always give you a parable. It's like, man, I can't take this. They want to go into a whole little folklore about a spider and Anansi or something like that about how they, you know, spinning the web and how that relates to life. Like, so the European gets very frustrated with the way Africans answer a question. They try to lock you into what? A yes or no answer. Do you vote for Trump? So they be like, that's a yes or no question, right? So the African does what? Well, you see the way the government system is, and they'll go into this whole, you know, thing. So they'll never give you a clear answer because that's not our worldview. We speak in parables, right? We speak in parables. So the question is, we can use our axiology way of thinking to diffuse their yes or no questioning, you see. So when they are growing food in that type of environment where it's ice everywhere, then time is of the essence. Right? Time is of the essence. You ain't got much time. We got 3 months to grow food, and that's it. If you don't grow it right now, then it's a wrap. We're not gonna have any food. We're not gonna have no harvest, and we can't eat. We all starve to death. Which gave birth to the watch, right? Always got to keep track of time. The Africans don't wear any watches. You know, so you have to make sure that you grow things at the right time. You can't miss it. Everybody showed up on time today? I know I feel we ain't gonna show on time.
Actually, if you're on time, then that means you're late. If you're early, that means you're on time.
Hey, you sound like you're watching Drumline here. Good job. That's a good job right there. So, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, you go to work on Monday. Your boss says this assignment is due on Tuesday. Right? You're black behind. Go in and turn it in on Wednesday, Thursday. They're gonna say, "Oh man, you missed the day to grow crops." I'm just using that as a parallel. So we're all dead. He says you missed the what? You hear the word? Dead. That's called the collective unconsciousness. Remember, the white man builds with what? Because so the word deadline is part of his what? Collective unconsciousness. You see how it comes out? You can't hide from your history. Remember I said the first trimester is sure you can't be abundant with a person? You are nothing but your history. If I took away your history, then you won't be able to talk or walk. So you are walking history in present time. You can't escape that. Black folks think they can release the pain of history by not knowing it. But actually, that's more painful. By not knowing your history is worse than knowing it. You see? Black folks say, I don't want to hear about that slave stuff. That's too painful. Which causes more pain. You see, you can't escape the history by ignoring it. If you were to take away your own history, you would not be able to understand the word I'm saying right now. The fact that you can understand what I'm saying is based off what you learned as a child. Okay. I'm sure you drove a vehicle to get here, so you had to go off some history to learn how to drive a car. So the history and the present and the future is one time for the African. It's all present. It's a perpetual now. All right. So we saw the European works of dichotomous logic, either or. Either I have the truth or I don't. Either I have the object or I don't. So that causes a lot of arguments. Because we don't want to hear the other person's side. What I say is the truth. Now the Asian's going to say, well, what you say, remember, the Asian's all about unity, right? And what you say and what I say, we're just going to merge into one thing. They call it a monarchy. All right, it's one thing. It's one. They call that diunidal logic. Okay. No, I'm sorry, dialectical logic. So you got dialectical for the Asian, dichotomous for the European, and diunidal for the African. All right. So whenever I create an either or way of thinking, I create what we call an ism. Does everybody know what an ism is? Sexism, racism, religionism. Or what ism means, my way of thinking is superior to, so that I have the right to what? Mistreat you. Okay. So now you're seeing history play out. So if my way of thinking is better than yours, then I can enslave you. I can do everything I want to do to you because I'm superior in thinking. Because if I'm great at thinking, then you're lesser in thinking. So that raises a great issue when it comes to anything. So the European sees things as past, present, and future. He breaks it up, divide and conquer, right? He divides and conquers time. Divides and conquers everything. He sees things in parts. And since we've adopted that system of thinking, we see things in parts now, too, because we have adopted his way of thinking. How does a woman appeal to a man? She enhances her what? She enhances her parts. So the woman already knows how the man's looking at her. She enhances her parts because she has to appeal to the white status quo. Because she's adopted that as her axiology, her world, her value system, okay? And epistemology is how do you know knowledge? How do you know what you know? You see? See, the African sees nature and yields to it. When he yields to it, he humbles himself to it and tries to replicate that into his own world. The European sees it and tries to conquer it and tries to change what he sees. We see mother, father, child in nature. We see all these things going. We say, okay, we're going to try to be like that as much as possible. European says, nah, that's wrong. We're going to find one exception in nature and use it and exploit it. So they do these things where they're always trying to make nature yield to them versus yielding to how nature actually is. Remember, they think they're superior to nature. If you think you're superior to it, you're going to try to make it more like you so you can deal with it. They call that xenophobia, right? Xenophobia means that I can't accept the difference. The African is diunal logic, meaning he can harmonize differences. It means that you say something, I say something, the truth in between. You like rock and roll, I like R&B, we can still hang out together, right? So the African is based off harmonizing differences. You ever seen African clothing before? Wow, man. All them colors. What's he doing? What's he doing with nature? He's harmonizing what? Differences. You go to the UK, they got what? All black on or beiges and just basic colors, right? Because he can't deal with differences. So your way of dressing is also a worldview. I can't wear the African clothes. It's too wild. I don't want that attention. I'm about to go to Walmart. I can't be walking around this clown outfit on. I got to put something on maybe more under the radar. I don't want all that attention. So we don't wear these bright colored clothing that are ours, which means that we're not accepting our worldview. And the only way you can be healthy is by being attached to your culture. There's no such thing as a black person who's healthy and cultureless. You can't have it too. Your culture is your immune system. It's what protects you before the issue gets to you. It's a way of thinking. If you don't see Africa on the plate, you don't eat it. That's that simple. The Chinese only sees China on the plate, he only eats China. The Indian only sees India on the plate, he only eats India. The Italian sees Italian on the plate, he sees Italy, he eats that. Black folks eat everybody's food. And we got everyone's problems.
Yeah.
And everyone's diseases. You see, because we have no what we call cultural integrity. We're cultural cowards. We step outside with jeans and t-shirts and think it's just, oh, okay, that's just how it is. No, you don't. You're afraid to be who you are. You're afraid to be black. They see your skin anyway. So what you scared of? Oh, I don't want that type of attention. So that's not going to stop you from the cops pulling you over. It's not going to stop nothing. Matter of fact, they probably respect you more.
Yeah.
Sure, I would hate somebody trying to come to my home and be dressing like me, in African clothing, and some white person coming. Where your stuff? We move in the neighborhoods and dress just like them, and adopt their names, and then we're going to be healthy mentally. Got all type of issues, mental issues. Can't even be what I said 10 minutes where I'm having some crazy thoughts. Cussing folks not head out left and right. Don't know what to think, don't know what to say. Got no cultural paradigm to think from. Can't think of African thought if we could save our lives. Don't know not one African thing we do. Well, we got Gucci on. We got some Pradas and Balenciagas. We got all types of stuff on. Letting a homosexual dress you. That's what you're doing. Victoria's Secret.
What's the secret?
It's Victor, right? His name is Victor. That's the secret.
Yep.
Let the man put lingerie on you.
Wow.
High heel, lipstick, all that stuff come from a man. That's why George Washington, these forefathers, all with that wig and everything. That's all homosexual behavior.
Wow.
It's all the same thing. But see, the thing about it is he can't deal with a woman. He has to make her like a man to love her. Remember, he can't deal with differences. Remember, we're still talking about axiology here. He can't deal with differences. Remember, feminism is a white woman's plate. That's not a black woman's plate. It got nothing to do with this. That's because she can't get respect from her man. So she had to fight for that for him because he can't deal with those differences. So, black folks love him. We love everybody. Shit, matter of fact, we'll change the conversation right now if a white person came in here and try to make them feel accepted. We know that we could, well, you good. But the thing about it is we know how to code switch. We can code switch at a drop of a hat. So we are accepting people by nature. So they're xenophobic, and we accept people in. We see a stranger, we want to feed them. That's our nature. Now the things we learn here, we may have changed that a little bit because we understand them more and more. But naturally, we are accepting people. We bring everybody in because that's how we see the world. So when it comes to medicine or anything like that, we have to make sure that we see the body as one thing. So when a person was sick, we say, well, today we say, you sick. I'm like, how does that make sense? How can you be sick? That don't make any sense. How can a person be sick by themselves? What environment do they live in that produces sickness? So we would have a village council and we say, sit amongst the elders and everybody, and the elders would say, how did this sickness enter the village? Because we're talking about a thought virus at this point, right? How did the thought get into here to make this person sick? Right? What concept did they adopt that imprisoned them? We call that conceptual incarceration. That means you're imprisoned by a concept that you carry. Your concepts can imprison your whole reality. It can stop you from being your full potential. Now, if I have a cell phone and I got a Bluetooth speaker, well, they got to be compatible to work together. So they say orangutans have 3 strands of intelligence. In biology, they call that single nucleotide polymorphisms, which means the ability of an organism to express intelligence, right? So the orangutans got 3 strands of intelligence. And then we say the gorilla has 4 strands of intelligence, okay? Which makes them a little bit smarter than the orangutan. They can do sign language, stuff like that. And we say the chimpanzee has 5 strands of intelligence. They're not going to say strands in biology. They're going to say SNPs. They're going to always try to confuse you, right? Single nucleotide polymorphisms. All this chemistry talk is all about trying to confuse your client. The more I can confuse you, the more I can sell you something. That's the game, okay? So I'm not sitting up here talking about protons, electrons, and mitochondria, all that. That's white talk. You can't access black intelligence with a white program. So you got a lot of people online trying to talk about enzymes and this protein here. And I could talk to your conditioning, but I'm trying to talk to your black self right now. Because all this stuff is in our culture. I'm just trying to talk to you. In other words, You can get the truth and science with your spirit quicker than you can with your intellect. All right, so just pick up the spirit of what I'm saying. You ain't got to understand it. See, white folks try to understand what you say. Just pick up the spirit of what I'm saying. All right. So Europeans have 6 strands of intelligence, which makes them a little bit smarter than the chimpanzee, which makes them a little smarter than the gorilla and then the orangutan. All right. The black man and woman has 9 strands. I didn't say 7. I didn't say 8. I said 9 strands of intelligence. That means the ability of an organism to express intelligence. We also have another phenomenon called innate releasing mechanism, which means the ability for an organism to respond properly to a situation in which it's never encountered. That's got to be epigenetical at that point. That's embedded into you. But like I said, that's where we missed the mark, because my cell phone has to link up to a Bluetooth. They got to be compatible. So it doesn't matter that we have 9 strands of intelligence. I'm sorry to say that. It doesn't matter. Only if the environment that we live in is compatible to our psyche. You can't tap into your true intelligence walking around with blue jeans and t-shirts on. Can't do it. You can't tap into your true intelligence not wearing your natural hair. You can't tap into your true strengths of intelligence by not expressing and exercising your culture. These are all we call vectors of compromise. Vectors of compromise, meaning that you have to send your child to a white school, they got to watch white TV. So all you got to do is go through your brain and say, how many vectors of compromise I have to my black identity? Do I got to go to a white grocery store to feed myself? That's a vector of compromise. Do I have to go to a white school to educate my children? That's a vector of compromise. You just start adding them up and see how many you got, and then they'll tell you how black or white you are. They'll tell you how much of a coconut you are. Black on the outside and white on the inside. We got a lot of coconuts. A lot of them. All right? Being blacked out and whitewashed. So just take the time to write those down and think about them and say, okay, I'm compromising here. I'm compromising here because I know I don't like working with these white folks. I know that they have these microaggressions they throw at me at work. I know I catch them. They don't think I catch them, but I know their little smirk wasn't really a true smile. That's a vector of compromise. I got to entertain these people all day long. That's a vector of compromise. Right? I got to wear their clothing so I don't, stand out too much because I'm kind of, life's hard for me already, so I'm not going to be wearing African clothing. That's a vector of compromise. I ain't got my name. That's a vector of compromise. I got to listen to all this trash music all day. That's a vector of compromise. I got to eat their foods all day. That's a vector of compromise. Just add them up, and I'll tell you how healthy you are. And they come to me, I got stressed. I can't figure out what's going on in life. I got something going on in my liver, something going on in my pancreas. Yeah. Because the body is just a mirror of what's going on. Women come to me, they say, got fibroids. I'm like, I said, how you got fibroids? That means the man you with must got fibroids. You can't have fibroids by yourself. If you get raped, then the person who rapes you and the person who get raped, they both need therapy. Remember, it's holistic. So the victim and the culprit both need therapy. So if you with the person and the woman has fibroids, then they both have to be addressed. That's one whole. I never see a couple come to me saying we got fibroids. It's always the women coming saying they got a fibroid or something. Like, you got to come together. Whatever disease she got, she's mirroring him. This is a holistic way of thinking. You got to get out this divide and conquer. This is not either or. Either she got fibroids and y'all, a disease is a family disease. If the boy got eczema, the whole family got eczema. Is that making sense? Now, they may not express it. They might not have the rashes on their skin. But something's going wrong with the blood and the kidneys in that family. And then next thing you know, 2 years later, uncle on dialysis. Yeah, because the dialysis and the eczema connected. The child who had eczema connected to the uncle who's on dialysis because eczema is a kidney issue. The kidney's not filtering properly. So that means the whole family has a disease. Okay, let me write it back then, because maybe I'm losing you guys. Let me say, okay, when the mother's pregnant, the whole family's pregnant, right? Okay, the mother can't be pregnant by herself. This is African thinking. Okay, you got to. I'm trying to get the white men out your head. That's what I'm trying to do. So you got to bear with me here, because we've been conditioned for a long, long time. You're not gonna learn that in 45 minutes, an hour here. So I'm just trying to put some seeds in there, go sprout later on when you wake up tomorrow morning or something. So the mother's pregnant with the baby. So the mother and the father are also pregnant. So the baby's pregnant with the mother and the father. The mother is pregnant with the father and the baby, and the father is pregnant with the mother and the child. See, the baby is birthing the mother and the father as parents. You see. So it's a whole unit here. So the baby increases oxytocin, which the mother feels, so she's happy. And she hugs the father, which releases a higher oxytocin in him. Him hugging her back releases higher oxytocin in the mother, which raises it back up in the baby. And that goes back around and around, which is called the circle that cannot be unbroken. That circle cannot be broken. All right? We call that being catatonic. Catatonic means how you seal something. Right? Women are good at sealing things. They can seal a relationship. They can seal that thing. You're going to talk to my man. This is it. Seal that thing real quick. That's called a chemical seal, right? Men be open. They be trying to flirt with everybody, talk to her. But women are about sealing bonds, because the mother is the first bonding ritual in the family. So her energy is more catatonic, meaning that she's trying to seal it. A child with autism or Down syndrome is catatonic. He can't get out of his chemical lock. I mean, you can't get in and he can't get out of his condition. Okay. You become catatonic to your culture when the mother's stressed in the first, second, third trimester. You can't think an African thought, even if you wanted to. Matter of fact, it never came to your brain before. You can become catatonic chemically to think, to thoughts. Certain thoughts you can't have because your mother was stressed out. You ain't never thought about eating raw food your whole life. Why not? Because your mother was stressed. You never thought about putting a dashiki on your whole life. Unless Black Panther came out or it was some type of Juneteenth event. Folks be tripping me out. Oh, you wasn't there for the movie? I said, I dress like this every day. That's a nice costume you got on. I was like, dang, it's a costume now?
Wow.
You know, the fact that we're going to use an adjective to describe my clothing, it shows who has the power.
Wow.
Those adjectives are adjectives of weakening. Meaning that we'll check that. So we have to realize that when someone says African clothing, I mean, they just showing that what you got on is not true clothing. That's what they're really saying. When they say, where do you get your degree from, and who certifies you as a naturopath? They trying to say what plantation your black behind came from. They're trying to say what white man said that you got a brain in your head. Just say it. I mean, I'm not offended. Just ask me. What white man certified my brain? You ain't got to do all that euphemism stuff. Say what school you went to. Did you go to this and get certified by this? Certified is another word for white license. A degree is a white man permit, work permit. That's all it is. It's saying the white man said you're going to work. Because the whole graduation is a Masonic ritual, right? So we have that what they call the mortar head, the hat. Okay, a mortar is what they use to build houses. Okay, and you get a diploma. All right, Renee, is that thing on? Because it's very sensitive. Just being careful, but you know. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. It's very, very sensitive, like a minute or two. Like, okay. Renee, be quiet. I argue. So, so you have the diploma, and you have a motor head. Okay, a motor is the person who builds, and diploma. Another word for diploma is diplomatic, right? So, a diplomatic person is what? A person who is agreeable, right? So that means build our civilization and shut up about it. So when you get that piece of paper, that means you become a builder for their societies, and you need to be quiet about it because you get your paper, you get your money. Now, if I own if you know, you got all these celebrities and athletes that make multi-million dollars, I don't see no black banks out here. I don't see no black schools out here. So it's in the person who owns the team interest to pay you a lot of money. They don't care because that money is going right back to who? So I don't mind paying you a whole bunch of. I can pay you $20 million. All you're gonna do is walk down that tunnel with a romper on and a bag, and you're gonna show how cool you are with a Gucci suit on. You're gonna have all this European paraphernalia on. You've been looking good, and the woman gonna say, "He look fine in that suit," right? And the suit is made for cannibalism. They put a suit and tie on you before they eat you, and the jacket's made right where the incisions are, where they take out your heart and eat it. All right, but he look good though. He fine in that suit and tie. You don't know what suit and tie represents, but you still saying that, but look fine. I love a man with a what? Suit and tie. You see how you don't know what culture is? But we fall right into it. We fall right into it because we've been conditioned. We have a psychological transplant. We've adopted someone's value system. All right, as long as I get my car and house, I'm good. That's the object, right? The highest value for the European is the object, not the relationship. Matter of fact, the more objects they have, the less African they really are, because that's opposites, right? In a way. Not saying you can't have nice things. The thing is, we have to understand why we are attached to certain worldviews. And that's yielding some type of benefit for us. If we know that we're sick and tired and have all types of issues, then that's your body really in tune with your spirit saying, hey, fix something. If your face is breaking out and skin and everything going crazy, and you look in the mirror, that's your body saying, save me from this Negro. That's all it's saying. But we keep on knowing it because we've been conditioned to have certain type of taste. They've put taste into us. We got white taste for white everything. You know, we've been, like I tell people, when a white man's cooking some food, you don't like the way he cook. You don't like the way he think. Because a recipe is a crystallization of a thought. A recipe means how much I should have of this, how much I should not have of this. So by just understanding science and Tesla and Einstein, they should have been great chefs, right? If physics is nothing but weights and measures, then Einstein should have been whipping it up. So how come Einstein can't cook? So we've been lied a lot about nature. We've been lied about the sun, and we've been lied about our bodies. And we say the sun makes the earth bright, but then you see the sun in space, it's dark out there. You're like, oh man, why is it dark in space? The sun's still right out there for it. That don't make any sense. We've been taught things about, nutrition and talk about cell division. Cells don't divide, but you've been taught that lie. Divide means it gets smaller. So you're saying your cells get smaller every day? So what are you talking about? Prophase, anaphase, and cell division? What are you talking about? What kind of sense that make? So science is full of just a whole bunch of theories. That's all it is. Your chemistry books and biology books are 95% theoretical. That's it. So when you go to a hospital or a doctor, they give you a whole bunch of theoretical information. You try to help yourself with some theoretical information. And you come to me finally, oh man, I need some herbs. I don't get a fair chance because they go to these doctors for 30 years. I get maybe one chance. They don't work. I've been doing this for 2 weeks. They ain't work. I'm like, dang. That's how y'all do me? I be like, man, that's not even fair. Y'all been going getting all types of things put at your body, getting, yeah, I mean, it's getting body parts taken out and hysterectomies and all types of stuff. And then they like, man, I got part of a body. Can you help me? I'm like, man, I'm trying to work. I ain't got nothing to work with. I'll try my best. And then they give me 2 weeks. And it don't work, man. I ain't going back to him. I tried to make those teas he told me and didn't work. And they go back home and eat a little Chef Boyardee or something to eat at home. And put it in the microwave. I mean, I'm sorry, a micrograve. They put it in for a minute and 20 seconds. They open up their vertical casket, call it refrigerator, to prepare themselves for the horizontal casket that they better go into. So that's what they're doing. They wake up eating dessert. I'm sorry, breakfast. Syrup and pancakes. Eating dessert in the morning, waffles, all types of stuff. Eating hot dog in between 2 buns and Snickers, all types of homosexual foods, and got all the veins on the Snicker bars and stuff. Name Up the Man, Mr. Nut Bar and Good Bar and Payday. Nuts, all types of caramel ejaculating from it. You put it right in your mouth and you eat it. But that's what we fall into. We go into a wedding and we celebrate it. And, okay, well, we know that these folks come from the Greek culture, right? So the word gymnastics means naked. It means without clothing. So they used to take these boys and line them up in the gymnasium. They step on them behind. And they would raise this boy up to be a man. But they would still get married to a woman. But during that wedding, they would take this boy and he would be part of the wedding. They would call him what? That's my what? That's my best man? So best man means the homosexual friend of the groom. So black folks do weddings, right? We have best man. We don't know what we do. Yeah, and then the woman walks up the aisle. But the whole ceremony is supposed to represent biology. Doesn't the semen go up the fallopian tube? So why is the woman walking instead of the man? The man is supposed to be approaching the egg, so he's supposed to be walking down the aisle. Because it's supposed to represent something as in heaven, so on earth. So I'm sure I was going to weddings before. Now, I hope you understand. If you're not married to an African principle, you're not married technically. If you're a black person. Any European wedding marriage is not a marriage in our culture. Now you know that. So if you're going to a white wedding with black folks, they are not married. Per our culture. They are married to the white culture. They're not married to our culture. So by our definition, they're not married. A virgin birth, right? A virgin. Virgin doesn't have nothing to do with not having sex. Ain't got nothing to do with that. Virgin means virtuous. I mean, she has not stained her mantle and he has not stained his mantle with bad character. And the first child that comes out shapes the uterus. That means every child that comes out of that has the same mental capacities of that first child. It shapes the personality of the rest because it changes the mantle on the uterus. There was a whole family being bonded. So you have the father has an emotional umbilical cord attached to the child. So he has to be part of that pregnancy. He's got to go through all the trimesters. If he doesn't stick around, then he doesn't go through his emotional rites of passage. So when he comes to see the child and he's playing video games on the console and the child makes mistakes and unplugs it, he punches the child hard as he can and kills the child. He's not bonded to that child. He did not go through his proper catatonic ritual. You see, he's been sealed out. Because pregnancy is what? It's a whole thing. So he has to be in the picture. If not, he'll feel some type of disconnect to that child for the rest of his life. You can't trick nature. Anything you do nature is going to do you back. They don't care about you as a baby or growing up. If a baby fall down, it's going to hurt for the baby too. We have this whole soft feeling about nature won't hurt me, it's loving, and I love nature, would never harm me. No, nature would put two crackheads together, and the two crackheads will have a child. They don't care about you. They put two losers together, two ugly people together. Nature's just trying to keep itself going. They don't care about your feelings about it. We got this whole thing about Mother Nature philosophy. That's another category. But nature itself is cutthroat. You wash your teeth out, you're not getting your teeth back. I don't care if you start to change your diet right now. And what you did in the past, you're going to pay for it right now. That's nature. Them donuts you had last night, that's in your system now. I don't care how many words you hear me talk about, how deep I go into metaphysics and nature and culture. What I'm saying is not going to change your condition. What I'm saying is not going to make you smarter. We have this idea about improvement. Humans cannot improve. Ants cannot improve. Roaches cannot improve. We have an idea of progress that's been given to us by Europeans. So we try to always approach and attain progress. Ants got the same program. And roaches got the same program. Roaches cannot improve upon what they're doing. You cannot increase your intelligence. You can't. It's impossible. You've been given that belief from the Europeans. A book does not make you smart. A book is just exercise. That's all it is. Because doing something and knowing it are synonymous in our culture. Now, the Europeans can write about Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, this great philosophy, but not do it because they separate nature, right? They separate what they think they know versus what they actually do. For the African, if you do something, that means you know it. So me talking right now, only way you know it is by doing it. If you're not doing it, you don't know it. Only way you can know something is by doing it. Me talking over here is not doing anything for you unless you do it. That's the only way it works. So the Asian has. So I was going to write Mandarin Chinese. If I wrote the word consensus in Mandarin, I had to make 19 strokes. Now the top part of that caricature represents the mouth. The bottom part represents the heart. Okay, I made 19 strokes. Now if I make 17 strokes in Chinese culture, I haven't said anything. It's already open, Rio. It's already propped open. Yeah. Unless someone closes it, but just give it to her anyway. She made it. So if I make 19 strokes, if I make 17 strokes, I haven't said anything in that language. You got to get the whole thing right. Doesn't that sound kind of like Asian culture? You got to get all it right. You take a test, you get 17 questions or 19 questions, you better get it all right, or else it's all wrong. They see the whole picture at one time. They can't guess at something. They don't guess. They say it's either there or it's not there. They don't guess at things. You miss one of those 2 strokes, it don't say nothing. You make those last 2 strokes, now it says consensus. Now it says something. So the European sees things from past, present, future, right? Left to right. Now left to right, reading left to right does causes fibroid tumors too. Because it causes vitamin A deficiency. Woman ain't supposed to be reading from left to right. That's another story. All right. It drains the cerebral cortex, which causes a higher demand of beta carotene and vitamin A. With vitamin A is what flushes out the uterus. See, they got you all messed up. They got you A backwards. So, past, present, future is European. So they call that a barcode. Okay, left to right. Now the Asian sees things as one thing. So what's the Asian barcode? We already know you know. What would be the Asian barcode? Oh, I think he saw it. That's called a what? Oh, that's worldview. That came out of Asia. So the QR code is the Asian version of the barcode because he sees the thing as one picture. You see, you don't see that you're looking at. See, now I see that. I see worldview. That's a way of thinking. I'm trying to get you to understand here. That's what I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to make you think critically about what you see. That's the point of this. Not for me to hear myself talk. So when I write the word consensus, okay, well, say I ask somebody to help me move to a new place on, say I'm trying to move to a new place on Friday. And I call you up on Friday or call you up on Saturday. Hey, what happened? You didn't come help me move my furniture. Man, I forgot, man. Sorry, I forgot. Well, the Asians take you forgetting as being passive aggressive and is listed as a mental illness in their medical textbooks. Because you cannot say with mouth what you do not intend with what? Heart, which is the word consensus in Mandarin Chinese. See, the language is fixed to their worldview. So I can't say something unless I'm going to do it. But the African does what? We're based off interpersonal relationships, right? So what we say when someone asks, well, you going to help me move some furniture? Yeah, I think about it. Hit me up later on, you know. What's he doing, though? He's still doing his worldview, right? He's trying to keep the relationship good. I'll do it. Just call me, you know. You know, I'll see. You see, so we express ourselves based off our axioologies. The black man don't want to let you down like that. So he's going to try to massage his way out of it or kind of, not let you down so quick. He's going to be like, okay, well, I got something going on Friday, but, if it works out, then I'll hit you up. It's beautiful signs when you see it play out in the real world. It's an art. It's beautiful when you see it in real time. I mean, we do it all day anyway. It's real time. The pastor's preaching. Okay. The pastor's preaching, and then the congregation's like, yep, say it fast, good. So she's affirming the relationship. So she's encouraging to keep on going. Yep, pastor, amen, say it. Now to the European, that's very annoying because he's focused on what? The object of what he's saying. I wish this lady would just shut up. I'm trying to hear what he's saying. So what happens is we have a quantum entanglement. What I mean is we have two worldviews or multiple worldviews entangled simultaneously with each other. Remember, Uncle Tom sold his child. Uncle Tom is friends with the master. And master runs into some debt one day and he has to sell Uncle Tom's children to another plantation. Uncle Tom mad now. Hey man, I thought we was cool. You want sell my children to Mississippi? I ain't gonna never see them again. Uh-oh, what happened? Quantum entanglement. What happened? The Uncle Tom saw his master as what? A person. And the master saw him as a what? As an object. Europeans objectify everything. They see you as objects. We're gonna take a little intermission here. You guys get some food, and then I may talk for like 5 more minutes, then we may do a Q&A. So, all right, ladies first, and I'll let you guys. How you want to do? You want to serve it to them, or how you want to do? Oh, there, yeah. So, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of resume, and then we'll do some questions. Unless you got some questions right now. You'll wait? Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right, so the reason I'm going to those different worldviews, okay, because when it comes to pursuing any type of, when I say science, the Western science is all about linguistics. Like, if I can confuse you, I can sell you something. So I won't say you need more yellow foods. I'll say you need more vitamin B1. I'll say diamond. So I'll call it by my Greek god, right? I won't say you need more red food. I'll say you need riboflavin. All right. So the main thing is just trying to change terminology. Because I'm coming out of a cave, right? Coming out of a cave, so I have to catch up to the rest of the world when it comes to civilization. See, the problem is we think we're looking at Europeans on a eye-to-eye civilizational level. They're not on the same civilizational level that we're on. You think because they put a suit and tie on, which I told you what that means. Now you know what a tie is, right? You got the phallus and you got the 2 testicles, right? Well, you got the bow tie for the testicles.
Wow.
All right, so he's got that on his neck walking around. I got you. You like it though. So you have them rushing out the cave, trying to rush to get to civilized manner. So they try to intellectualize everything because they think that the world is intellectual. Yeah, right mind and left mind, that's what they call it. All right, so your left mind is going to be, that's analytical. That's taking things apart and trying to put it back together. And your right mind is going to be more so intuition. All right. Now the problem thing that we weren't taught about the brain is intellect is supposed to yield to intuition, not replace it. In other words, intellect makes sense of the intuition. We've taken intellect and replaced the whole brain with it. The whole brain has become intellectual now. And that's the issue. So you have people coming out of this cave. They have all these little rats and mice and stuff. You call it Disney World. They tell you where they come from. Mickey Mouse and all these little things. Yeah,
Wow.
they tell you where they come from. Now, we know the cave is very dark. You ever been to a fancy restaurant? Yeah, that's what they call it, romance. Right? So you just think it's all nice. So y'all get dressed up in what? Your suit and tie with your high heels. So she looking like a man. He ready to be eaten. Right? And then you go to a cave and you call that romance. And the word romance is based off 2 men loving each other. So you get this whole, and then it gives you flowers, and the flower, and 12 flower represents an orchard, and the Latin word for orchard is testicles. So it gives you 12 testicles called flowers. All right. So this whole thing, what you call romance. So, but the thing, she's gonna get mad at you if you don't do these things. So she bows him back into European culture because she's like, "What? How come you never buy me no flowers?" So she works for the system unknowingly, right? And her idea of love is based off Disney World with a whole bunch of rats. And you want to be healthy. I mean, I'm trying to make sense of it.
Wow.
And then you wonder why I got a costume on. I'm like, dang, maybe I'm crazy or something. Like, after all, I do call it the Matrix, the tricks of the material world. Matrix. And the material world is the terror of the material world. All right, so we buy these things. So either or, dichotomous logic. So in the European society, you have the main family, the royal family. Everyone else is peasants, low class. So you go to the doctor, they say you got a heart condition. No other organs are wrong. It's the heart. That's the way of thinking. You got a heart condition, you got a kidney issue, you got a kidney issue, you got a liver issue. You got a liver issue, you got a lung issue. If you got a lung issue, you have a spirit issue. Because you can't breathe deeply when you have anxiety. That means when you have anxiety, you can't actualize your full self. You can't enjoy the moment, in other words. Because breathing is the first form of digestion. It's how you digest air. Another word for air is spirit. So you can't sit in your spirit all the way. You just breathe shallow. You breathe from here because you're on edge. You see? You're coming from the cave way of thinking, because they ran out those caves. When that Santorini earthquake shook up the caves and they was able to get out, they took off running. And they found some herbs and they found some nutrition. They started eating it. And they died instantly when they ate it. Why would they die eating something nutritious? You ever heard of something called refeeding syndrome? Refeeding syndrome is when you eat something that's so nutritious that you never had before, and it actually causes an adverse effect to you. It kills you or makes you very sick. So Europeans come out of the caves and they call Africa the World Cup. Doesn't that sound familiar in soccer? The Holy Grail. They're trying to fight for all these teams fighting for what? The World Cup, which is ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. So they try to get all information. They changed that Ashurbanipal library. They changed the name to Alexandria library, because you can't have those African names. If you know it's an African name in that library, you're gonna know it's coming from Africa. So I gotta change the name to Alexandria. You got a phone in your hand. Hey Alexa, Alexandria. You call it Alexa, right? Isn't that Alexandria's library? Well, they just abbreviated to Alexa, gave it the first 5 letters everywhere. Crafty, right? But you ain't catching it, because you can only see with what? When I talk about your nose and your eyes, your ears, you only see with what? You only see with your brain. So if I'm not talking about something that you don't know, I mean, you have to know what you're seeing to look at something. Someone looking good is an image. So she looks good, but looking good is different from ancient times to what it is today. Looking good back then is someone's spirit being whole and being in tune with my eye and truth and justice, reciprocity, order, harmony. Today, looking good is just having a certain body. Because when you go to the gym and work out one arm, the other one gets weak. So the imaging part of the brain works opposite from the moral part of the brain. So the more images are thrown at me on phones and more images thrown at me in life, the moralistic part of my brain shrinks, so I can't make a sound decision about a partner. So all I can say is she look good. She got Amazon Prime, right? Amazon Prime? So we have so what happens is when Europeans went into Africa, they get into the library, they try to learn information as much as possible. They get all this information from Ptahhotep and Nefertiti and Akhenaten and all these people, right? But they can't digest it though. So what happens when you can't digest something? It comes back up. Or it comes to the other end. And so what you call Socrates, Plato, Aristotle is the vomit of African thoughts. You reading vomit. And coming from Kemet, a Kemet person is a chemist by nature. So when you see those things, a true Kemet or chemist analyzes the vomit to see the nature of which was consumed to put Africa back together again. You don't just stop there at Socrates. You don't stop there with Plato, the one who loved his students, his male students, and fell in love with them and had a whole relationship with his students. They call it, what do they say when girls don't like you? They just call you a friend. They call it, what kind of relationship is that? Platonic?
What'd you say?
It's called a platonic? Platonic? Oh, okay. That means she don't like you. That means she sees you as a gay lover. That's who you a gay. She don't like you. She called it a platonic relationship. She just got. They keep on getting you every time. Everything they do at you, they get you every time. Every single time, right?
She said friend zone on the girl's home.
Friends on. So she already know, right? She already know. So what I would say is, every interaction you have with a person imprints the axiology. Now, what do I mean by that? It imprints it, means that it takes what the status quo is and it will confirm it. It confirms it. How do I create an ism? First, the only way I can create an ism is first I have to use my cultural bias as the truth. No, let me say not the truth, a truth. All right? So once I create a bias and I use my cultural bias to create a truth, then the second way I create an ism is I judge everyone in that society based off their ability to connect to that cultural bias of being true or false. All right. So if you're not this religion or this way of thinking, then you're going to hell, right? Or you're not. If you don't think my way, if you're not saved by this person or going this way, if you don't praise Mecca or Allah or Jesus, if you don't think this way, then I feel sorry for you. Let me pray for you. Now, what worldview is that coming from? Remember, if it's my way or the highway, right? My way of thinking. Yeah, it's not that's European thinking. All right, so we have to understand what worldviews that we're using to apprehend others. We have different race technologies that are at play here. All right, so we have to understand that when things are at play, if I say one race technology is to establish racism, okay. The second one is to expand it. The third phase is to give maintenance to it. If you're driving the car, it starts clanking, making noise, you should stop and see what's going on. You're not going to keep on driving that thing. You shouldn't. You may. But there's something going on wrong with that. So when a black person is killed by a white cop, what's the clank? The clank is that the white cop shouldn't have done that. So what do white people do when they see that happen? They support black folks. Because black folks are white people's cattle. So what happens is you say, oh, white folks are protesting with black folks. So therefore, white folks ain't all bad. Because the third stage of race technology is the refinement stage, which means that you're not supposed to know that racism exists anymore. And I use another crafty race technology called racial showcasing, which means that I put a lot of successful black folks on TV. So when you say racism still exists, what I say to you, man, what you talking about? Black folks got cars, they got houses now, they got nice mansions, they got nice everything. What you talking about? Racism, that's a thing of the past. So racial showcasing stops you from detecting racial refinement, which means that you're not supposed to know white racism exists because it does not supposed to make a sound. When it makes a sound, aka a white cop killing a white person will support a black person in protesting because that's just them saying, get back in line, right? So your black behind say, guess what? All white folks ain't bad. You do know not knowing how to do mathematics is not an intellectual issue, right? It's the inability of the child to detect abstractions. Okay, let me put it this way. White folks have good manners. You went to the Target, or you went to, Publix, and they had a conversation with you in line. They talked about their dog and how the weather is and some sports. Oh, this person's pleasant. What does white manners sit on top of? Remember, they came from the caves. The only way they can have white manners is that it sits on top of white domination. They don't have good manners when things don't go their way. So the fact that they can have good manners with you sits on top of an abstraction. So you can't see the abstraction. You say they are a good person, which makes the child not good at mathematics. Because the ability to do mathematics is the ability to see abstractions. So you're looking at the concrete interaction. You said they said hey to me, I said hey back. They had a polite conversation, I had a polite conversation back. That's a concrete experience. But remember, the refinement stage is supposed to make that happen. Refinement stage means that it does not make a sound. And if you say it makes a sound, then I say, hey, we got black things on TV. What you talking about? What you talking about? That don't exist. Black folks doing good, but they're doing good for white folks. They buying their clothing, they buying their. You see, you go deeper. So you go to school, get the degrees, and make more money to keep that stuff going. So you become a super agent.
Wow.
Super Negro. Put a cape on him. Certified Negro. Boule. Pledge Greek. Everything. Got all this stuff. All types of Eurocentric things. They don't care about nothing about your African stuff. Because there's no rewards for being the black person, the African person in this society. You get punished. Get a slap on the wrist. Don't do that. Don't wear that. Don't dress like that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Go to church. Do this. Why are you stepping out of this for? You know. There's no rewards for being an African in this society. You get punished for that, for being out here. That's a punishment. Why would you walk outside with some African clothing on? You crazy. Looking goofy, man. All these clothing, colors on. What's your name? Kuta Kente? What? No, my name's Jessica. Okay, that's more appropriate. Okay, don't come here with that. I can't pronounce that. I can pronounce Mitsubishi. I can pronounce Chevrolet, but I can't pronounce them African names. The T is silent on depot. That's French, right? But I can't pronounce. I refuse to say an African vibration. Think about that. I refuse to say an African vibration. I refuse it. But I'll say Mitsubishi. I'll say Kobayashi. I'll say Taku. I'll say anything in any other language. Don't come here with that black. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Cause you get my nerves now. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you Dr. T. I ain't gonna say Tal. I'm gonna call you Dr. T. You see?
So
Subconscious.
Is that intimidation or just not wanting to?
That's conditioning. Epigenetic conditioning. But I've been alerted to do a Q&A here, so I guess I'll just go ahead and take some questions now. So, Evan, you go ahead now.
So, I just had a question about, and you don't have to go too deep into it or expound too long because I've already been long, but I'm getting so pounded with the whole Christianity, taking your children to church because my grandmother went to church and your children need to learn about Jesus, and you know, because I'm raising them in our African culture, like even while they're here, and I'm getting so much backfire from my family, from my friends, from and what do you teach your children? Our truths, our Kemetic history, from our indigenous people, but you're supposed to take them to church and they need to learn this and the Bible this and that. So, I'm just like, what is with that? The whole, of course I know it's conditioning, but.
Well, religion works off 4 principles. I'll just say this. It works off fear. You gotta have fear. You gotta have faith. You gotta have belief. And you have to be ignorant of history. You gotta have those 4. You gotta have fear. You have to have faith. You have to have a belief. And you have to be ignorant of history. You have to be. There are those, or less religion don't work. Religion comes from the word religioso, which is that was an ancient army that would force a way of thinking on people, and they didn't believe that way of thinking, that they would kill them. They were called the religioso army. But the word Jesus comes from a West African word, jezi, and jezi means salt water. It's spelled Dzeti, jezi. So the origin of the word is West African. Great question. But the thing is, we're never going to unify on religion or anything. The thing is, we have to understand what it is that makes the world. The Asians, they don't all have the same way of thinking in religion. I try not to tell people told too much about religion anyway. That to me is still a sidebar when it comes to everything. People have different practices. The main thing is just understanding that you have to make your economy grow for your people. That's the main thing. Indians don't all have the same belief. You know, you got thousands and thousands of religions on the planet. Black folks ain't gonna all be the same thing. You know, but we have to understand black economics. And so we have to understand that first and foremost. And most people who press those things on you, like I said, that's the xenophobia. They're afraid of someone being different from them. So they're telling you more about that. It's intimidating because they've married the status quo, which is the white man, and they probably eat white man on the plate. What they call, it's what it is. A hamburger and French fry, that's white man. You eating white man. You like white man in your mouth. That's what you mean. That's what you're saying. That's what it is. You know, you call it hot dog or what you want to call it. I mean, it's what it is. They have a taste for whiteness. Everything they do, you can just go do, like I said, the vectors of compromise. Remember, you go through the vectors of compromise, they probably got about 30 of them. Easily. Everything they got on was probably made by somebody who's non-black. They see everything as being one people, human race. We all one. That's how they see the world. And the further they are from who they are, the more diseases they're going to have. It's called sympathetic resonance. The more you sympathize with the oppressor, the diseases you get of his. They call it catechisms when you were enslaved. You would say, when your slave master was sick, you would say, "We sick, master. We sick." Because they were bonded to their master. So we're bonded to white culture, so we have the same diseases of it. You see, it's a sympathetic resonance there. So the more we bonded to this, is the more diseases that person will have. So you can just look at them. They probably got swollen ankles, all types of things, sick, and they're going to tell you about Jesus Christ, so it's fine. Yeah. But just ignore them. You know, they're going to rebuke you and pray for you. And that's what they're going to do. And that's the limit of their country. They had no history. They had no understanding of history. They worked off faith and belief, and that's their own little formula. They use the book to defend the book, and the Bible's prepackaged to defend itself. You don't believe it, they're gonna give you a scripture. So it's already prepackaged to defend itself. So you don't believe this book, they're gonna throw a verse at you. How can you use the very thing that you're trying to disprove someone else? That don't make any sense.
Any more questions?
So, in my studying, well, first and foremost, I understand that I have to unlearn the ways of this so-called world to relearn the truth. And during my recent studies, like in these last couple of weeks, and just trying to understand my place as a Black woman, I've come across a lot of information as far as in just us being the most valuable or one of the most valuable, pieces of our culture, to being undervalued when it comes to us, like we're the most deleted off this earth, nobody cares. So as a culture, how do we come together to provide the protection to the Black woman that's really needed in order for us to survive?
All right. So if I'm an antelope, I'm not going to ask a zebra or a lion about my survival. That's first and foremost. So it's still within our people. We have to figure it out. So the main thing is, first, before a drug addict can get over his addiction, you got to admit that he's a drug addict. Black folks don't think nothing wrong with him. Everybody in the room, then they fine. They think their way of thinking is works. You see. So the first step is admitting that you got something wrong with you. The hardest thing for a person to do is get over his own conditioning. Until black folks admit that they got something wrong with them, a psychological transplant, and they lack cultural integrity, they're coon for white folks. And everything they do, they wake up and put on, man, they call it wardrobe for a reason. You at war.
Wow.
You just walk outside with some jeans and t-shirt on. You a black man, what you doing? First you gotta look like something. Look like some cosmic goo. I mean, I had to come back to straighten some things up, unfortunately. I was sitting, chilling in the star systems. I'm a defect that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm proof that this system's not bulletproof. I'm proof that the white man system didn't get everybody. But I had to admit that I had some conditioning to overcome. That's the talk in the mirror. That's saying, man, what the heck? Something right here is just, you have to first have a yearning to do something different. Like I said, you can't do nothing unless you frustrated. Passion is controlled anger. That's all passion is. Black folks ain't mad enough. We love joking, love being silly all day. We the most happiest, silly, go-lucky people. We got more comedians, stand-ups, and we got Pop the Balloon Show. Only people on the planet got a whole show. I don't see no white folks on them shows. Well, this is a mockery of our people. Black folks talk too much. We go online just dissing each other. Black man dissing black woman dissing. Hey, what's the Chinese man doing right now? They quiet. What's the Indian man doing right now? Let me go on social media and see these black folks just talking all day. Just talking. Yep. Just bashing this person, bashing this person. Yep. Black men don't do this. Black women don't do this. All day long. I mean, it's 24/7. We talk too much. We got too many opinions that are not vexed inside of a cultural paradigm. We thinking white man's thoughts. We're not thinking from the right cultural framework. So how are you going to reach the right conclusion? You started. That's true, and that was strategic. That was done on purpose. Yeah. The relationship has been destroyed. Black folks don't trust other black folks. You go to McDonald's 10 times, they may have bad experience. You come in one time, I didn't smile at you, then you say, I'm not going back to JuaMoto no more. We give each other one chance to make a mistake. One. And we ready to find something. They didn't, embrace me like I wanted to. Because, see, we don't mind being transactional with other people. But when it comes to us, we want to have sidebar conversations. My phone ringing in here. I got 3 orders in my head. Someone asked me a question about herbs and they liver going on. And I'm trying to make a rap. But I got to hold a conversation right here while I'm making this and trying to listen in a conversation that's called the phone being, rung. But that's how we are. That's done on purpose. But like I said, black folks can't overcome it until we admit it. That's the first step. Until that, we can't even talk about nothing. So you got to go to that person and say, do you feel like something's wrong with the world and something wrong with you? In the nicest way possible. And if the answer is no, then you can't do nothing with that. You can't help somebody who don't want to be fixed. Okay.
So the question online is, how do we get married in our African culture?
Okay. Well, first we got to stop looking at each other as men and women. That's a given in our culture. All right, so that's some Eurocentric stuff. He's a man, he's a woman. That don't exist in our culture. That's automatic. We don't see people as men and women in our culture. We see everybody as a mother or a father. That could potentially be a great mother or father. That's the first step. So when you look at a man, you're trying to look at father qualities. You're not looking at how fine he is. You're looking at father-like qualities. And when he's looking at you, he's looking at mother-like qualities. He's not looking at it. We know he's looking at a woman. See, that's a given in our culture. See, in this culture, it's like, okay, I'm male or female, so now they can use that as a leverage to change their gender. But that's the first step, understanding that. After that, you want to get married within some type of African principle. Yoruba, Ifa, you can use those systems. Kemetic cultures, they all have things laid out that can kind of go through those ceremonies for you. But remember, you don't create a relationship. You don't create relationships. You participate in a relationship created by God. So to dishonor your partner is to dishonor God. You see? So that changed the whole dynamic. So remember, I can't see God. Only way I can serve God is by serving the God in you. That's the only way I can serve God is by serving the God in you. That's the only way I can serve. If I don't serve the God in you, then I'm in some type of lip service. I'm just talking. I'm just spitting out verses all day, trying to sound good. So what they say, how can you love me who you never see and you see your brother every day? That's where that's coming from. We hate each other only when we like each other when we're horizontal, but when we stand up vertical, no, we don't like each other that much. Because your personality changes when you go from vertical to a horizontal. I hope you know that, right? Your personality changes. You got two different astrology. You got a Virgo astrology sign, and you got a horizontal astrological sign too. It changes. Everyone talking about their vertical signs. I'm a Cancer. I'm an Aries. No, that's your vertical sign. It changes when you go horizontal. We call that sexual compatibility. And chemistry and compatibility are two different things. You can have good chemistry with somebody but not be compatible. So compatibility is the main thing. Sexuality is a whole other subject. The male phallus is a female organ, and the vagina is a male organ. You've been miseducated again. If a man pleasures himself, he goes deeper into feminine energy. If a woman plays with her toys, she goes deeper into masculine energy. She becomes cutthroat like a man, has many serial people she deals with. She emasculates herself when she pleasures herself by herself. And the man feminizes himself, becomes very bee-like, right? The more that he pleasures himself by himself. Because the more he messes with himself, that's a female organ. So he's throwing himself more into a yin energy when he's supposed to be yang. And then she pleasures herself, she throws herself more into a yang energy when she's supposed to be yin, which disrupts the relationships, which makes him not to appreciate her. You see? A lot of things behind that. Muscles are male. Spongy tissue is female. There's no muscles in the male phallus. It's all spongy tissue. The muscles are in the vagina. So by definition, it's a male organ. Okay? So that's how you masculize and feminize the brain. That's why your highest rate of serial killers are all chronic masturbators. They have a distorted view of the feminine energy, so they want to destroy its fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Fee, male, fo. That's the god of destruction. So in the English language, they got to use that prefix now, right? You call yourself a female, which means a destroyed male. You say feminism. You're not catching culture again. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Famine means no food. Fatality means death. You just thought it was a nursery rhyme with Jack and the Beanstalk. Not knowing that the culture is embedded in the nursery rhyme. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Culture coming at you again. Okay.
So the question is, where in this country is there an African culture, or what is the solution?
There's one in there's something in a village in South Carolina as well. Beaufort. Yeah, that's one in Beaufort, I believe. Remember, Africa is not a continent. Africa is a way of thinking. When I'm saying Africa, I'm not talking about some geographical location. Matter of fact, the word Africa is not even African. It's Arabic. All right. But I'm using that to drive a point home. But the thing is, it's a way of thinking. It's a way of being. The African ain't African today. You ask them what the name, they're going to tell you his name, John or something like that. And a John is a toilet. That's what a John is, you know that, right? A John is a toilet. Matter of fact, they call it perfume and eau de toilette, the water of the toilet.
Wow.
You say, I'm going to get some Aqua di Gio and put it on. It says eau de toilette. It's French, so it sounds fancy. Eau means water in French. Oh, I speak a little French now. Jesuit. Jesuit means I am. You asked me about Jesus earlier, right? So to say I am in French, they say Jesuit, which means I am. Jesus is who you are. I am that I am. You see? Jesuit is how you say I am in French. It's right in front of your face.
So I want you to speak a little bit about the melanin gene.
Yeah. So it's not a okay. So melanin is a polymer. All right. All right. See, I got to go through all this Western jargon to kind of. All right. We call it kimwar. Okay, kimwar is the technical name for it. So melanin is a biochemical that makes you black or darker. It exists throughout your nervous system. It's all throughout your body. So it's what allows you to see the full range of a color, to taste the full flavor of a food, to hear a full range of a sound. No other race can do that except for you. So when it comes to melanin, it allows you to be more human. And the word human means color. Man means spiritual thinker. So the word human means, by definition, colored spiritual thinker. So it's only one human race. Then the rest of the people are called humanoids. All right. Black folks are the only humans. Human is not defined by anatomical structure. Human is defined how you treat somebody else. My humanity rests in how I treat somebody. So melanin allows you, when it's not distorted by white sugar, white rice, all types of things, then you can express more humanity. All right. So humanity really is based off behavior, though. But melanin allows you to access that more. But it's a we call it prismatic melanin, which exists on multiple dimensions at one time. Okay. So they call it exotic matter, which means that it's matter that exists on multiple planes. Like you are also spirit and you're here in different dimensions at one time. So in probably a couple of hours, you'll get sleepy, right? So that's two rams interlocking together, crossing over. So you can only sustain this reality for like 16 hours, and you get pulled back to the fourth dimension. Then the fifth dimension, right? And then you get pulled back to the third. You call that waking up. And you get pulled back to the fifth, and go back to the third. And you got that in between, that fourth dimension, what you call thought. The middle. Another word for middle was meditation. You driving in the car, you call that a median, right? Yeah, median. I could take out the N. I call it a social media, which means media has the ability to intercept fifth dimensional reality before it gets to third dimension, so I can change your way of thinking. You see, that's the power of media. It changes your middle portion because you're living in two realms at once, because these realms clash together. It wasn't supposed to happen. On the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimensions, those realms are sovereign. They don't cross any other dimensions. So sleep doesn't exist on other dimensions. It only exists on this dimension because you have that magnetic pull. You call it getting tired. So you can't even sustain this for 16 hours without getting sleepy again. So you already know this is an illusion out here.
How many dimensions are there?
It's 12 of them. They all have their own suns. The biggest one is Betelgeuse. So you have different. See, I'll be trying not to lose people this stuff. Because I'll be thinking I'm crazy. I know Delez already think I'm crazy over here. She's like, I'm going to go home with you. So, but we call them Necharoos in the Kemetic. The hieroglyphs are Taraz, right? I can't say. So Necharoos, right? Or Taraz. Those are like the today they just call them guides or whatever you want to call it. But that's really the Necharoos is really the first internet. That's called psycho-spiritual technology. Okay, which we use crystal technology to, access thoughts and spirits. They mutated it and they call it mutated crystal technology today, which they call cell phones, and it's just trying to mimic your melanin, your nervous system. So they push out all this melanin. That's why all your cell phones and devices are black. It's trying to mimic blackness. You ever notice your TV screen, your cell phone, they all got black screens? That's your neural nervous system pushed out. That's all it is. They're just mimicking it. It's called biomimicry. They mimic what your body already does, studying melanin. They take the melanin crystal and replicate it. They call it a cell phone or laptop, iPad, whatever you want to call it. They all black. Everyone is black. So when they try to defend it with this most guns are black, which is the male penis. You got the shaft and the testicles. It's all a game. You just got to track it. So the white man says, I can destroy you with a gun. The white woman says, I could do you better. I could date him. She said, I can control that penis physically. You can control it with an object. So the guns is the metaphorical or the figurative penis. And she said, I can date him, though. I can control this penis. You call it interracial relationships. But you like white girls, though. If you don't know culture, you can't make sense of the world. You see with your brain. See, you're not seeing it. You think everyone's just one race is happy? We only have one race. Everyone else is a humanoid. You have one type of melanin, eumelanin. You got melanoids, what you call pheomelanin. I speak Spanish too. Feo means ugly. I got the ugly melanin. But your culture, like I said, is your immune system. That's how you see, that's how you taste, that's how you touch. If you don't see culture on the plate, then you don't see anything. If you don't see the sun as the plate and the spoon as the moon, and the sun and the moon have four children called north, south, east, and west, what you call a fork, then you don't see culture. They say, I don't believe in astrology, but you got a GPS system, but you don't believe in astrology. How are you going to get home without stars? I'm sure that if you were, I appreciate you guys for coming. Thank you so much. How are you going to get back home if you don't get no stars? Now, today's time may be a little easier, but if you're leaving your family behind, you want to make sure you get back to that shore. That's kind of a scary feat. You better be looking at some stars on that sailboat. You better study them wind tides. Understanding that to get to the Montego Bay or get to Trinidad and Tobago, that the wind current at one part of the year takes you right to the Americas. In 3 months exactly, it flips itself and takes you right back to where you started out. We understand wind currents. We were the masters of the seas. Ancient Atlantis, which gave birth to Africa. The capital of Atlantis is Africa, who gave birth to all the crystals. That's where your cell phones come from, Atlantis. Another word for Atlantis is Dogon. Anyone know about the Dogon people? The word Atlantis means landlord. The word Dogon means landlord. And now you got a landlord in your house and in your neighborhood. We were the lords of the land. That's why we opened up these colleges called what? Universities. We were children of the universe. So every planet is a school. Saturn's agriculture. All right. Mars is finance and war. All right. These are Mercury's communication. That's why Gemini, Libra, the air signs are great at communication. See, this is your Gemini. You're a Libra. Yeah. And Aquarius. Yeah. So every planet has a subject attached to it. So math being a solar science connects to the sun. So when children study math at 12 o'clock noon, when the sun's high in the sky, they receive the information a lot better and can learn it better. So you're supposed to teach certain subjects at certain times of the day to help the child retain the information. But we're so detached from nature with your black self. And you wonder why your child's struggling in school. They're doing math at 3 p.m. or 10 o'clock in the morning. They ain't going to get it. Math is a solar science. You got to do it at the highest point in the sky. Then they say Jesus was the most high at age 12. What time of day is the sun highest in the sky? 12. I ain't trying to belabor y'all with a whole bunch of words. What time we got here? Okay, we start wrapping up. Any more questions here?
What crystals are good to block out blue light in your house?
Organites and shungite are the best two. To block EMF, electromagnetic fields, harmful radiation. Organite spelled Orgonite. Oh, she got one, I see. Awesome. She got. That's how it looks like right there. Orgonite. Organite and shungite are the best two. I got some in the back too. Shungite spelled SHU. Okay.
Do you think mental illness comes from people not being able to balance different dimensions? Or balance spiritual and physical in the earthly line?
Well, it's layers to that. Mental illness is, first, like I said, it starts prenatally. Remember, when I was talking about the formations of the trimesters? You've been attacked prenatally first. Remember, whenever a child is in a mother's womb, that child has a different zodiac sign than it does when it comes out the baby. Like, you may have been conceived in Scorpio, came out of Leo. So that egg is a Scorpio, moves like a Scorpio. And based off that sign and how it was the sperm of the father, that egg can dictate its own speed and development based off the nutritional content of the mother by using a certain enzyme called lactogen. So he can use his own mother's nutrition to gauge how fast and rapidly his mind would develop. If she's nutrient deficient, then his mind will also be nutrient deficient, which can cause an instability between those rams I was telling you about, third, fourth, and fifth. So his exotic matter, which is connected to the other rams, is not in rhythm. We call that schizophrenic, meaning that what's in here doesn't correspond to what's out there. So he creates a world here that does not correspond. A lot of that's because the testosterone and estrogen that's developed in the child by the mother. If she's stressed out, then she'll rob that baby of testosterone, because testosterone would help calm her down. And the more stressed out she is in that pregnancy, the more testosterone she's gonna ride with that child, which can actually make the brain male and the body female, or the body female, the brain female and the body male, by changing the hormones and the stress of the child during prenatally. You see, because that's a nutritional need the mother's gonna have, pull from the baby. So a lot of stuff can happen because see, men think from the parental lobe first, then the frontal lobe. Women think from the frontal lobe, then parental lobe. That could be switched. A lot of things can be switched. You can switch how you perceive the world when you come out. You can change this world to the dream world, and then make the sleep world your conscious world. So you're so arrogant to think that folks walking around are awake, but they're actually asleep. But when they go to sleep, they're awake.
Yeah.
A child can choose at a birth to say, "I switched the rams. I can't deal with this ram. I'll switch it to make it more livable." But really, when you say mental illness, we're just talking about someone being clean. Because if I put sanitation in my clean, that means sanitation means clean. In Latin, I-N means not, indestructible, right? So if I say insane, that means not clean. Insanity means not clean. That's all it means. Insanitation, that's all it means. So mental illness is just based on someone not clean, right? Body's not detox. You see what I'm saying? You can't be healthy and be mentally ill. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't be healthy without having your culture. Black folks are emotionally starving and culturally homeless, trying to find something to drive our emotions. That's all we're trying to do. We just find bad habits when we do it. We're just trying to find that driver. How can I drive anger? How can I drive happiness? How can I drive this lust? We got to find something to drive it with. We have nothing, no tools in this culture for us, so we got to find bad tools that harm us. Remember, when all you got is a hammer, you treat everything like a nail. All we got is a hammer, treating everything like nails. Just banging everything. Okay, I'm gonna start with the jokes today. All right. Any more questions? I know it's getting a little late. I don't want to keep y'all too late because we are solar people, and I want to get back for this wolf starts howling.
I got a question.
Okay.
So I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about the comparison between Kemet and Washington, D.C.
All right.
Sorry. Sorry. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know what to say.
This is a good one.
Oh, I don't know what to say. My first time hearing that question. Let me see. That's fine. Okay, so we got something in Kemet called the obelisk. We call it Tekken, really. It's called the Tekken, right? Okay, that's Asar laying down. That's his phallus. Okay. Tekken. Technology. Let's get the word technology from. The first technology is the male phallus. All right. Now that's what we call the Washington Monument in D.C. But D.C. wasn't called the District of Columbia before. It was actually called Rome. Type it up. Rome, Washington. Do us the way as Romans, right? We send our child to Caesar and upset that they come home as Romans, right? So, Kemet was a civilization that lasted for thousands of years, and Washington, D.C. was trying to mimic that because they wanted to have that same type of ethos and power. So they tried to replicate a lot of the things that they saw in Kemet. So they built something called Capitol Hill. All right, so it's a lot of. So yeah, Rome, right? Coming from the brothers Romulus and Remus. And Romulus and Remus were nursed by this wolf called Lupus. Where you get the word lupus from, right? Lopaz. Lopaz means wolf in Spanish. So that's the beginning of the bestiality for Europeans. And when Romulus and Remus got bigger and stronger and older, they had built this city called Rome, and Romulus got upset with Remus, and he ended up killing him. And he built a city in between them two. So, what you call this, a rhomboid muscle? Okay. And that city is called your spinal cord. The wall is your spinal cord. Remember when you study Greek culture, you study anatomy too. You study, it's all the same thing. You study literature, mythology, you study anatomy because it's trying to attach you to, it's trying to make me a great European, right? That's the goal of this culture. The great, I got to name the days of the week after Greek gods. That's why I always have elections on Tuesdays, because that's the god of war, Mars, right? Elections always on Tuesday. Destruction, Mars. So, you have Capitol Hill, which is trying to copy Rome City. And Romulus ended up going to another city that was nearby called Capitol Hill, right? And, well, Romulus had some people living in this city, and this other Capitol Hill people they were living in their city, and they ended up raping the people in Rome. So the people in Rome get upset. So you raped our women. And the people in Capitol Hill say, well, okay, well, in exchange, you can rape our women too. But the people in Rome were gay. So they raped the women of Capitol Hill, but they were gay though, but they had sex with the woman, and their offspring were called queers. All right, so the queers were the offspring of a gay parent, and then so you come over here to America, which is also Rome. They changed the name to Washington, D.C., which first that whole area is called Virginia, Maryland, which is actually the Virgin Mary. Virginia, Maryland, the Virgin Mary, which gives birth to the whole agenda and everything, and the rest of the world. You see what I'm saying? So, but that's kind of Washington, D.C. in a nutshell there. I don't mean to say nutshell, but.
Last question. Outside of the amazing book, Spirit of Intimacy, what are your favorite books related to relationships from an African lens?
Well, you already know I'm going to say Mwalimu. And Mwalimu Baruti has great books on that. He has a book called, what's it called? The Sex. Come to the Terror is a great book. That's another one that's specifically about sexuality. But yeah, Baruti has great books on that. He's out in Atlanta. Baruti, Dr. Baruti. But yeah, I mean, the books are always good to kind of exercise your information, but try to look at the animal kingdom as much as possible and just try to yield to that to see what's naturally taking place. Don't try to approach information with intellect. Remember, like I said, approach it with spirit first. Approach it with your spirit, and you'll get more out of it. If you try to pick apart everything, you're not going to get what's really being said to you. You see, because someone will take one little thing and say, "I'm not going to read this person no more because he said something about this." Right? Just take the spirit of what he's saying. Besides that, you have a book called Sexual Alchemy by Donald Tyson. That's a good book. And yeah, that's a good book too. So, okay, I got it. Yeah, I got it. All right. Any more questions? Did I bore y'all enough today? Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to me speak a little bit about some things that I think I know It's been a long journey. A lot of this came out of this resistance, so I had a lot of backlash from family, and you know what I mean. And it's not easy being, yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Like just on an everyday basis, knowing that you're designed to be what the culture needs, what your family like thinks that you like as a black sheep. Like how do you mentally like
You look at them like any person. You look at them as an alcoholic. They're sick. You got to let people be sick.
But if you
They'll start asking you.
But yeah, they come around.
And I actually like my godmother and different people in my family. I actually just let them know. I educate them. I don't argue back and forth. I just educate them. Okay, no problem. Well, this is what I choose to do, and that's what you choose to do. I respect you on your page. You get what I'm saying? If they don't respect you, that's fine. You get what I'm saying? But I just let them know, and I just start to educate them, and I'll leave it alone. Or like with the Jesus conversation, I choose not to discuss that.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm hanging up the phone. And we're just gonna talk about something else, like seriously. But you have to know yourself. This is why I'm here, and this is why I have my children here, because when you know yourself, and when you operate out of love and gratitude and happiness, it don't matter.
I got chimed in too. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and in 2015 I kind of started my awakening. And it's crazy because now in this year, my mom has pretty much renounced her religion just because it was a lot. But I never pushed it on her. I just planted the seeds and I just lived my life. So I think we all just have to remember you're teaching people inadvertently just by the way you move, the way you talk, the way you live. And eventually, sometimes that just helps them shift as well. So just keep that part in mind.
I was born in 20.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just be patient with people. They have their way of thinking, and you ain't gotta push. I ain't pushing nothing on nobody. So you just gotta, you know, they're doing the best they can, and
So do they like inquire, like do they really ask you questions or try to get an understanding of, the information that you have?
if they sick, if they have something going on, like some herbs. Yeah. Yeah. And they got something going on, they ask me something, But they, what was it? Maybe 4 months ago. First time I ever heard my father say he's proud of me. I was like, oh wow. And I'll be 37 next week, so it's that was the first time I heard it. I was like, oh wow. So they come around. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, right? So they come around. I don't push it on nobody. I respect them. I grew up with the King family, so I come from the civil rights movement. My uncle was shot and killed in the King Church. We grew up with the King. I knew Martin before we knew him as Michael King before he changed his name to Martin. So my grandfather was just driving around all day because my grandfather had a construction company. So anybody know about the black church, I know about the black church. If anybody know about the black church, I know about the black. We helped finance the civil rights movement. They still do a ceremony to this day. They just did one a couple weeks ago in the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, with my family. So anybody know about the black church, I know about it. So for me to understand it and distance myself from it, that's why I don't disrespect it. But I understand that it had its place. But it's we have to take back what's ours to get back to what we're supposed to be. As we say in physics, when things are the way they're supposed to be, things will be the way they're supposed to be. If things are not the way they're supposed to be, then that means that things are not the way they're supposed to be. And it's that simple. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you, man.